Volunteer tourism, or voluntourism, is defined by wearing as an alternate tourism in which tourists volunteer in an organized way to undertake holidays that might involve aiding or alleviating the material poverty of some groups in society, the restoration of certain environments, or research into aspects of that society or environment. Over the past decade, volunteer tourism has exploded in popularity, with an estimated 1.6 million people participating every year. It has become a form of pop philanthropy for young students who want to travel the world. While it may appear to have many positives, with students getting to experience a different culture, it actually has many negatives. We must consider the implications that it has on local populations, specifically children.
Put yourself in their shoes and think about it. You see people who look nothing like you, talk with weird accents, and visibly have more money than you do. They start taking a bunch of pictures with you to post with their state-of-the-art phones and claim how you're their best friend. They claim that they're changing your life, but then after a few weeks, they leave, never to return. During my gap year, I myself was a volunteer tourist, and while I like to believe that the work I did was beneficial to more than just myself, I recognize that not all programs are created to have positive impacts on the communities they are in. There are many detrimental effects to the practice, including the reestablishing a definitive idea of others, reasserting the colonial past, and putting a metaphorical band-aid on the deeply entrenched political, economic, and social inequalities in a community. One of the most glaring problems with volunteer tourism is the issue of race. Studies have shown that the majority of volunteer tourists are white, and for many of the people in the communities that they're helping, these are the only white people that they'll see in their lifetime. Given the circumstances that brought these white people to them, it can create many conflicts both culturally as well as financially and economically. When talking with Faven Goydam, a refugee from Eritrea who lived in an Ethiopian camp for 5 years, she stated,
I assumed all white people were smart, had money, and had no struggles. They had their lives together, so they were coming to help us. I never saw a colored person come and help us.
This framework leads to gross generalizations about what it means to be white, what it means to be colored, and leads to a superiority complex as basically stating that this white, inexperienced, and unqualified worker is somehow still better than a local.
As children, we are born hardwired to become attached to our caretakers. It is therefore critical that everyone in a child's life is committed to having a relationship with them. As volunteer tourism increases in popularity, more kids will be subjected to the care of people that are only there for a few weeks, many of whom will not try to keep in contact with them, even if it's possible. With the constant coming and going of volunteer tourists, kids, especially those younger than school age, are at risk for PTSD, anxiety, and fear of everyone in their life abandoning them from a young age. According to the DSM-5, kids experiencing attachment or abandonment fear as children can manifest symptoms such as anxiety, insecurity, isolation, and obsession over their relationships that they do have later in life.
If a person walked into a childcare center or a school in the US and just started taking pictures of the children, they would most definitely be kicked out and most likely would also be arrested. So then why all of a sudden, when you're in a different country, is it okay for people to take these pictures? It's because of the distance. By having a physical distance between yourself and your home country, you're also creating a mental distance that allows you to separate yourself from the morals you might adhere to at home. As much as a volunteerist might say that they're taking a photo because it's of a child, the fact is that it's not because it's a child, it's because they're brown. It's not because they're cute, it's because they're poor. It's a distinction that further perpetuates the white superiority complex and cements mental boundaries in the same exact place where the volunteerist believes that they're breaking down these walls. Furthermore, one of the worst aspects of photo taking is that the volunteerist is diminishing the subject from a person to a prop. There is a need to separate it into an us versus them in order to somehow prove that where you went was a place that truly needed help. If everyone is shown being happy and productive, then it questions why they needed aid to begin with. Photos are not always a bad thing, but it's sometimes, even when the volunteerist's intentions may be sound, it is important to look critically and truly ask oneself, why am I taking it? What is the purpose? And what am I planning on doing with the picture?
The rise of popularity in volunteer tourism provides an amazing opportunity to touch far corners of the world. However, in order to make the most of this opportunity, changes need to be made to the current programs in place. Current organizations need to create more long-term programs for volunteers. By increasing the commitment from volunteers, more can be done in these areas of the world. Having medical staff, for example, train locals to do basic procedures and wound care could help locals be in charge of their own lives. This by no way means that these people will be going through medical school. However, basic training can be done quite easily by someone who knows what they're doing. In addition, by doing so, this lets locals depend less on the volunteers that are coming and allows them to be more involved in their own community. Similar to medicine, training locals to do jobs that volunteers come to do could allow them to be more involved with their country. Such jobs include forest conservation and research, as well as teaching strategies for children and even upper education for adults who never got to go to college. By making some of these changes, locals could start taking control of their own lives and reduce the need for foreign aid that resembles colonialism.
I believe that volunteer tourism can do a lot of good in the world. However, it is of the utmost importance to restructure three main categories for improvement. The first is to establish minimum program lengths for the volunteers. Second is the proper vetting and preparation for these volunteers before they arrive in country. And third is to hire and train locals. With any situation in which people will be volunteering abroad, there will be negative impacts. However, with the right intentions and informed execution, it can be a positive participant in the goal for global well-being.
Go to the gas, go now.